Moving forward, we have yet another exciting session on sustainable growth to achieve global goals. And to conduct this session, Thiba.
எமது முல்லைத்தீவு மாவட்ட செயலாளருக்கு எமது நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றோம். தொடர்ந்தும் ஒரு சுவாரஸ்யமான கலந்துரையாடலுக்குள் செல்ல போகின்றோம். ஆனால் இந்த கலந்துரையாடலில் தனித்தனியாக கருத்துக்களை எங்களோடு பகிர்ந்து கொள்வதற்காக இன்றைய தினம் வருகை தந்திருக்கின்ற சிறப்பு அதிதிகளை நாங்கள் அன்போடு அழைக்கப் போகின்றோம். அந்த வகையில் முதலாவதாக எங்களோடு இணைந்து கொள்ளப் போகின்றவர் 2 வருட காலமாக இலங்கை மற்றும் மாலைத்தீவு ஆகிய நாடுகளுக்கு இடையிலான நட்புறவை பேணி 18 வருடங்களாக IFC நிறுவனத்தில் சேவையாற்றிய நல்ல ஆசிரியராக, நல்ல ஊடகவியலாளராக, அதே நேரத்தில் நல்ல வங்கியாளராக மற்றும் நல்ல ஒரு அதாவது 2 நாடுகளுக்கு இடையிலான நல்ல உறவை பேணுவதற்கான நுட்பங்களை கையாண்ட ஒரு நல்ல தூதுவர் என்றும் கூட கூறலாம். அப்படிப்பட்ட இலங்கை மாலைத்தீவு 2 நாடுகளுக்கும் இடையிலான நாட்டு அதிகாரிகளின் அதிபராக கடமையாற்றுகின்ற திரு விக்டர் ஆண்டனி பிள்ளை அவர்களை அன்போடு அழைக்கின்றோம் தன்னுடைய கருத்துக்களை பகிர்ந்து கொள்வதற்காக.
Yes, Victor Anthony Pillay is the Principal Country Officer for Sri Lanka and the Maldives of International Finance Corporation. He has been a part of the country management team since June 2016, and Victor has also served as acting country manager for Sri Lanka and Maldives for 2 years before being appointed as a senior operations officer for Levant countries in Middle East, covering strategy and business development with private sector and government sector stakeholders. He has also been with IFC for the past 18 years, working with advisory and investment teams to strengthen relationships with multiple stakeholders, including the government. His knowledge of the local market, along with his strong relationship skills, have helped him play a strong role in the Financial Institutions Group, FIG, advisory team over the last few years. He also led the FIG advisory services in Sri Lanka and Maldives. Prior to joining IFC, he worked as a teacher, journalist, lawyer, and a banker. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Victor Anthony Pillay.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Ayubovan Vanakkam. First of all, I should congratulate the TMC for putting together such an event. We've been traveling to the north and east for a while from the World Bank Group to look at what we could do and how we could contribute towards the development of these provinces. And we have never met an audience of this nature, and it's such a pleasing thing to have, where we find all the stakeholders who are going to be part of the development of these provinces. So excellent job and congratulations to you all. And thank you very much for also inviting us to share our thoughts, and it's very much appreciated. First, as a son of the soil, being born in Jaffna, but unfortunately was not raised because of the prevailing circumstances. But I'm so proud to say I was fully raised in Sri Lanka, so it gives me so much more to understand and to make a contribution towards the development of the country and the province as well. Secondly, it's also an important task that has been kind of given to us by the President, His Excellency the President, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, to look at the development of the North and East from an economic angle. So for that reason, this also makes a very important kind of milestone in our work as well. So thank you very much for all of that. So I think always we should remember that there is no development without sustainability. Sustainability is not generally as understood as environmental and social sustainability. We also should have financial sustainability. If there is no financial sustainability, there is no environment or social sustainability, because a company has to be sustainable in making profits, creating jobs, investing further. But if you don't have that, then you will not have any other sustainability that's following. So it's always important to understand sustainability in that regard. So I should say, first of all, I thought that listening to a rich number of presentations from the different stakeholders, I also would like to kind of react to some of those. In terms of how we see development in the North and East could take place. So I feel that we see very common themes emerging from the 5 districts. If you take tourism, fisheries, agriculture, are 3 very common themes that I see in all 5 districts' presentations. But I also would like to leave you with the thought that when you take these districts in isolation, there's so much that needs to be invested in, that's so much that you're saying that there are opportunities to invest in. But if you look at them in isolation, sometimes it's very difficult to mobilize capital to that state or that district to do a particular development that you may want in a tourism or agriculture or fisheries sectors. But have you thought as an integrated approach to the northern province? Let's say there are tourism assets in all 5 districts. Would someone just come to Jaffna to visit a tourism site? Or as a northern province, would you want to promote tourism as a collective effort? In that, you need to also be selective and see what would make sense to have all of these district secretariats coming together and developing a common strategy where you could mobilize private capital to invest further. So I think I feel that as a northern provincial development, as a northern province economic summit, it's also important to look at the province rather than the individual districts. And then I also, from our different stakeholder engagements, we have also found out various things that the government is planning to do. We see that agriculture and export-driven agriculture, fisheries are key themes that have been promoted, and I feel that is correct, and there's so much potential there. We probably need to do a lot of value addition, look at niche markets. What is really useful to export is something that we need to think of. But I feel from the perspectives that are mentioned here, there is also the infrastructure that supports it needs to be enabled. So if you look at economic development cannot happen in a vacuum. You cannot have jobs created without someone investing in the right place at the right time. I think here what we probably lack is, let's say, everyone's saying that there's a BOI zone that's going to be created close to the Palali airport and also the port. But they are not ready to operate right now. So is the BOI zone that you develop in Jaffna going to attract investors to develop businesses there? So you don't have an evacuation potential. You have to use the road network to Colombo Port, which takes 10 hours or 8 hours of drive. And there's no air evacuation from the Palali airport because such aircrafts cannot come there. So have you thought through what infrastructure is needed? Do you have the cold storage facilities that are needed, warehousing facilities that are needed? I'm not too sure whether those things are being mentioned in a more strategic sense. When you look at investment opportunities, there are the opportunistic investments that you would want to do and also the strategic investments that you want to do, which will move the needle of the province. Opportunistic investments are, we heard the success stories of Shakti, is a fantastic thing. They brought in the expertise that they have gained and they have invested and they are making a lot of headway in that, which is very good. But as a province, have we thought through what will we need to invest in the agriculture sector, which probably needs to be looked at as well. So I think in this context, I mean, if you take the BOI zone, for example, it needs to be capacitated in a way that you probably need to, if you say fisheries and agriculture export, that probably needs to leave the country as soon as possible. So airport is absolutely important. Whether it's a phased development or a development in total, you probably need to take that on. So we have been invited by the Ministry of Ports and the airport to actually find out whether this is feasible, and we are in the process of updating a feasibility study, which will be ready in probably 6 to 12 months, and then we probably can see whether that will actually help to put in place the infrastructure that's needed. But also from a point of view of the industries that you could promote. If you take for Lebanon has a semiconductor industry where they do not produce even a single component that goes into the semiconductor industry. But there are these boutique investments which actually make $25, $50 million a year, right? And all they do is source the material from somewhere, get together people who can actually read and recognize color. They say, okay, on a production line, there are put A on B, put red on green, and then there comes an artificial interconnect enabling semiconductor, which is a very high value product which goes to Europe and US. So that kind of investment would not take much to do, because that's a possibility if we can make joint ventures or even like on their own. The Sri Lankan industries can look at, which can actually be transported from an airplane from Palali, rather than looking at the big things to happen. Because always, if you wait for one to happen to start on another, you might be waiting for a long time, which Sri Lanka has done for a very long time, because we have always lived in the past history and the potential story without creating a history in the present, which is always absent. So I think it's the time to look at that as an option to see what industries we need to invest in, what infrastructure that we need to put in place. And also there is a great kind of renaissance that's happening in the technology field, where you have the AI taking over lots of things. So where are we on that? And sometimes also we see that a lot of digitizations that are taking place across the Pork Strait in the southern Indian region. Can we connect to those to see how we can joint venture some of those things and then take it forward? But also we need to think that these AI-generated things will need quite a lot of data warehousing and cloud that would have to be supported, which needs a lot of energy, which needs a lot of investments. People don't see it as that, because at the back end is something that probably we need to actually purchase from an international cloud provider who are running data warehouses elsewhere. So it's something that we need to take into account. But even then, also you have to see, when you talk about sustainability, whether these data warehouses are sustainably driven, because data warehouses need a lot of power and energy, which have to be produced from a point of view of green power. And do we have the potential to do that? And is that the best use that we can put the power generation that we have in the country? Is another thought process that we need to do. So thinking of development and sustainability in a holistic manner needs a much more deeper thought through process than just looking at individual small investments that probably might not change the needle, but probably will be giving a little bit of color to what we are looking for. And I also would like to challenge the financiers, like the banking community in this region, because there was a lot mentioned about the deposit mobilization capacity, and somebody asked the question, how many loans are going in and what you really do in terms of the asset quality and all of that. It's true that the asset quality in the region is so high, but also the banks don't lend in this region. Most of the money, the mobilized capital, goes to other regions in the country. That's the fact of the matter, because if you look at the loan to deposit ratio of the banks, most banks are in the 20-30%. That means whatever the deposit that you collect, only 20% is employed as loans in this region, whereas everything else moves to other regions. So, which is a universal issue that the region has. So it's important, equity is important for sure, but also financing through banks are also important to run the businesses. Like an SME will not have an investor coming in to invest in, or the SME would not want a capital that someone is going to share your business with. So you need to have that banking system operating. So it's good to relook at the banking sector from a financing point of view to understand why they don't finance SMEs and businesses in these regions. It's not a very difficult question to answer. Either they are risk averse. You can't say risk averse also to an extent that the asset quality being so good, much better than the market itself. So it's very probably nuanced as well. Sometimes it will be cultural, nobody want to borrow, but it's a conundrum that probably we need to resolve. we need to understand and then do it, because financing is absolutely a must, which we understand from the fisheries, the agriculture sector, that bank financing is very few that happens in these regions. So that's another question that I would like to kind of leave you with. I've been given 10 minutes. I think I've taken 7 minutes. Probably I will stop and open for any questions that you may have. Maybe a little bit of an introduction in 30 seconds about the World Bank Group. We have a World Bank Group arm that works with the government, which is called the IBRD and IDA, International Bank of Reconstruction and Development, and the International Development Association. And then we have the International Finance Corporation, which invests in private sector. So we invested from COVID through the crisis to now close to about $1.6 billion in Sri Lanka, which doesn't get computed as FDI, but it is FDI, it just comes in. That is a technical matter, but this we have done during a crisis as well. So we mean business, we walk the talk, and we have done that. So we would love to do that in the North and East as well. So that is our duty and the role, and I would now open the floor for any questions that you may want to ask. Anybody has a mic to give them? There's a mic over there.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, excellent presentation, Victor. I'm very happy to hear that. And your thought process of having this accumulating all the governors, say for an example, the tourism, get all the projects of all 5 districts together and try to promote and try to make it a project. I think this is what little while ago myself and Javna GA and the Deputy High Commissioner was talking. I think this is a very good way forward. And as you said, you have invested something like you have spent over 1.5 billion in private sector. I think there is enough and more opportunities in the north for do that. And I think this is a discussion that has to take place with all the 5 GAs together and the governor. And I hope you will take it forward on that. Thank you.
We are taking it forward with the government, but also we would love to do it with the investor community as well.
Hi, Victor. It's a very enlightening presentation. One of my questions, just to understand your IFC investment direction, out of that 1.5 billion, what percentage would have been gone into the listed companies and how much would have gone into the privately held companies?
Probably I would say listed entities would be 60%, and then probably 50-50. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Victor, you mentioned once that IFC can lend to the state, what do you call, the Nagara Sabhas or those type of areas also, select semi-government institutions. Can you please educate us on that, please?
So,
municipal councils, semi-government organizations.
Yeah, a good question. So IFC, though it's private sector, we probably can finance at certain circumstances government entities as well, even SOE banks, subnational financing, all of that is possible if the law of the country allows us to do, right? So we are now exploring the possibility of working with municipalities in Sri Lanka, and we are going through a legal process to understand whether it makes it possible or not, because we've been just told that the Debt Sustainability Act that's been passed probably may stand in the way of financing. But if it doesn't, then we can do it. That will be based on a project that they undertake, which also will have cash flows to pay back. So let's say municipal councils provide services and they make revenue, right? So then based on that, whether they'll be able to pay, then we can definitely do it. We have done this in India, in many other countries as well. I think in Sri Lanka also, if the law permits, we could do that. But SOE financing, we are also at the moment looking at some emergency financing for some SOEs for Ditwa-related kind of reconstruction efforts. So that's also possible. So if it is something to enable private sector, we would be willing to do it as well. That's the role that we want the government to do, to enable the private sector so we can actually, private sector and IFC-like investors can invest in.
Yeah. Mr. Victor, when it comes to airport and harbour, you've been working with the government for a long time. Do they have a time frame for this? The thing is, all this meeting that you have here, it will happen only with harbour and airport coming up in Jaffna. So, do they have a timeline? The thing is, we've been talking from 2009 to 2025, almost 16 years past. 4 governments have come and gone. Nothing has happened.
So fortunately for me, I would say that our discussion with the government doesn't go that long. We've just been about a year ago. And we are happy to say that the new minister has given us a mandate to look at the feasibility of the Jaffna airport from the perspective of that airport being a fully fledged airport or phased development that needs to be done. That also includes whether it's Palali or Irnamadu, because Palali has very limited expansion potential, right, because of the land that's available. And it seems that the investment that's gone into Palali maybe probably, if thought through now, may be insignificant in terms of what that could be put in to Irnamadu to be a fully fledged airport. So that should be done within the 6 to 9 months, probably updating that feasibility. And then from there we will take to the next level, which if the government thinks that needs to go forward, then it will be a PPP-led project, so private sector can come in. The cost-benefit analysis is about the 4-lane highway that was spoken about versus the airport, whether it will cut down the travel time. But we also feel that a 4-lane A9 at a 10% of the cost of building a fully fledged 4-lane highway to Jaffna and developing the airport, which probably will be like, again, a fraction of the cost of developing the highway, would open Jaffna to the region internally as well as externally. So that's the conversation that we have right now. Maybe the last questions I've been told that I've gone overboard. Sorry.
My question is, I'm a private investor and I have many friends who are also willing to invest in this part, having been born on this part of the world. What if we are fearful that when we invest we'll lose our money or something will not come out here? So what are your guidelines, or do you have an advisory section that can guide us so that our investment is safe? That's the big question.
As an investor, even we are fearful that whether we will be able to recover the money. That's a common fear any investor would have. But for us to be bullish in this market, I think we need to understand where we are investing in, what risks are there, and what the rewards that we have. A great example would be the $1 billion that we put in through COVID and the economic crisis. When everyone was taking their money out, we invested into private sector to keep the jobs, to make sure that they sustain themselves and move forward. So it is actually, there is no recipe to cover us to say that you could do that. But depending on the investment size, we have a multilateral investment guarantee agency which actually guarantees anything other than the financial risk. Financial risks are up to the promoters because you have to make sure that your business is sound. But if any other that impacts a political event or riot or something that actually makes that business non-viable, then if you have the guarantee of the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, then you can recover the entire investment back. So that is possible. But that will make sense only if it's a $10 million and above investment, not a small investment. So depending on the size of the investment, you could make that call. Yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Victor Anthony Pillay, for that insightful session, and I hope all your queries were answered diligently.
திரு விக்டர் ஆண்டனி பிள்ளை அவர்களுக்கு எமது மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றோம். உங்களுடைய கேள்விகளுக்கும் தெளிவான விளக்கத்தை அவர் வழங்கியிருந்தார் என்று நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம்.